Hi everybody, so today I want to look at a subject that I have been researching over the past couple of months. The subject that I want to look at today is imposter syndrome. Now I want to look at what it is, how it affects our life and what we can actually do about it. So according to research, 70% of us actually experience imposter syndrome at some point in our lives. So that's a pretty big percentage of the population. And to be quite honest, one of the reasons that I have done the research around imposter syndrome is because I wanted to know the information myself. I know that from even in our networking groups, sometimes I hear the term being talked about in a very general way, but I've never fully understand what it meant. I've had an idea of what it is, but never really understood what it was. So what is imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is a psychological term referring to a pattern of thought where people doubt their accomplishments and have a persistent, often internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. So the term was coined by clinical psychologists in the 1970s when they found that despite having adequate evidence of accomplishments, people with imposter syndrome remained convinced that they don't deserve the success they have. So it's not a diagnosable mental health condition, but feeling like a fraud can definitely have an impact on your life in terms of anxiety and depression. There are things like feeling of inadequacy and frequent self-doubt. If people only knew the real me, they would see how useless I was. There's a tendency to focus on mistakes rather than accomplishments. An inability to receive positive feedback. This feedback is seen as people just being nice. And then there's perfectionist tendencies, believing that what you do is never good enough. And also self-sabotaging behaviours like procrastination, poor time management, avoidance, and setting unrealistic goals. Imposter syndrome often strikes at times such as starting a new job or receiving a promotion, starting your own business or becoming even a first-time parent. And it's typically associated with high achievers. So whenever I did the research and found out, and understood it a little bit better, I could really see some of my self-sabotaging behaviours. Even though I am a pretty confident person, there were areas of my life, particularly in my self-employment, where I just felt completely out of my depth, and I just thought, I'm just making this up as I go along, and I really don't have much of a clue about what I'm doing. So in that place, you just feel really vulnerable. You feel that really, have I got much to offer that other people couldn't do? And I would have tended to compare myself with other people, other coaches, and measured myself up against them and found myself wanting. So whenever I did learn about some of the strategies and how to deal with it, I was able to apply that to my life, and it really has made such a difference for me. Bottom line, it really is to do with our thinking. And one of the thinking styles that I totally had, and I knew that I had it, but didn't realise it was affecting me so much, was in the area of black and white thinking, or all or nothing thinking, and where I tended to live in the black or the white and not recognising that there's a whole area in between, a whole grey area or a whole colourful area. So I made the decision I was going to step into that grey area and live my life in that place and see what would happen. And that has just been so powerful and so helpful for me, because what it has done is shut down that expectation that something has to be either black or white. Something has to be, almost 100% perfect before I can put it out there. And it has made a huge difference to me. So it's really all to do with our thinking. Our brain is hardwired to look at the negatives, and that's so that it can protect us from any danger or any threats that there may be. And the threat here with imposter syndrome is, I'm going to get found out. So one of the ways to deal with imposter syndrome is to learn to turn off that inner critic inside of our heads, and retrain our mind to think in a much more positive way. We tend not to talk about the struggle that we have with imposter syndrome because this kind of thinking style tricks us into believing that we are the only ones. So what I want to do now over the next couple of months, just over the summertime, is to really look at the whole subject of imposter syndrome. So I'll be out and about in my Jeep, and I want to interview people who have experienced imposter syndrome, and maybe you have, and you have found ways that you've been able to address it, and strategies that you've used that have worked for you. That would be really, really helpful to hear that. So if you'd be interested in doing an interview, just private message me and we'll get something organised. If you keep an eye on my Facebook page, on my YouTube channel, you'll see where I am and what I'm doing. So, I mean, one of the issues is that whenever we give in to this imposter syndrome, that we are never able to reach our full potential because we just keep holding back. So if we start to talk about it, get it out into the open, there's more of a chance that people will be encouraged by what has been said, and hopefully be able to apply some of the strategies and be able to reach their full potential. So that's all for now, and I'll be doing some updates on a regular basis. So thank you for watching, and I look forward to catching up next time. Okay, bye.